Good morning to you all on Christmas Eve 2023. Like many of you that have subscribed to the channel, I like sport. I like quite a lot of sports. It's not just restricted to the sport of Formula One. And frequently I look at the BBC's sport page, the BBC supposedly being an authentic broadcaster, balanced, giving a fair account of everything. And I look on there for information and to learn about the sports that I'm interested in. So today I've had a look at the BBC Sport website, and as is normal, you get the different articles on the different sports. We've got a cricket here. Curran loses appeal against a 4-match ban, so we've got a competitor in a sport being banned, receiving a punishment for breaching the code of conduct expected from players in that sport. We can relate that to the code of conduct that Horner, Wheatley and Newey broke in Abu Dhabi 2021. No punishment, but actually instead of punishing people, we're told how many clever cards they played and what genius they have. But we get some Formula One news. Formula One published 20 hours ago. I wonder who's written the Formula One article that's now on the BBC website. Oh, here it is. It's Andrew Benson. Andrew Benson, the chief F1 writer. And he talks about Steve Nielsen, FIA sporting director, quits after less than a year in the job. Why would you do that? Why would you quit if you spent less than a year in the job? So let's see what Andrew tells us about this, because Andrew is informing, he's educating us all. He is the BBC's chief. He's the man with his pulse, his finger on the pulse of Formula One, and he can explain to everybody the reasons behind what is going on. So, Steve Nielsen has resigned from his role as a sporting director of Formula One's governing body, the FIA, less than a year since being appointed. He was appointed in January 2023 with a mandate to improve the FIA's race control operations after a series of controversies in recent years. So he was appointed in 2023, January 23, with a mandate to improve the FIA's race control operations after a series of controversies in recent years. Andrew's going to tell us about those controversies that have occurred in recent years, and we'll find out about these as Andrew informs us all of those as he goes through his writing. So here we go. No reason has been given for Nielsen's departure, but sources say he was unhappy with several parts of his role. Nielsen, 59, was unavailable for comment when approached by BBC Sport. F1 insiders have told BBC Sport that Nielsen felt the FIA was not willing to make the changes he felt were required to make its race control operations fit for purpose. Why would something not be fit for purpose? Race control operations is essentially the officiating within the sport. And he doesn't think the officiating within the sport of Formula One is fit for purpose. And the FIA aren't willing to address his concerns. Do you not think that that's a huge, huge problem? When the sport's governing body is not willing to address the concerns of an individual that they've employed to deal with that, yeah, you're not going to win that, are you? So, the teams and drivers all backed Nielsen's move to the FIA and are likely to be dismayed by his decision to leave and concerned about its potential ramifications. Well, what are they then, Andrew? What are those? You've made a statement, okay? You've given us a sentence there. Can you expand upon that? Because when we're writing something, Andrew, you should have learnt this back at university. If you make a statement, you need to back it up. You need to expand upon that. You need to go into detail. You need to substantiate what it is you've just written and projected. Otherwise, you leave people hanging there. You've not added any meat to what you've just said. Okay. At the Belgian Grand Prix this year, Mercedes driver George Russell, a director of the Grand Prix Drivers Association, said Nielsen had been a really great addition to the FIA's operation team. Thanks for that, George. Nielsen's departure, communicated to the FIA internally on the 21st of December, is the second from a senior role in the governing body in the last 2 weeks. On the 13th of December, Deborah Mayer resigned from her position as head of the FIA's Commission for Women. The FIA did not respond to a request for comment on the subject of either Nielsen or Mayer. The resignations come in the wake of FIA President Mohammed Ben Sulayem finding himself caught in the latest of a series of controversies since he was elected in December 2021. Earlier this month, the FIA launched a compliance investigation into Mercedes F1 team principal. Oh, we're now talking about the Mercedes F1 team now, are we, Andrew? Okay. Is this relevant? Okay. And his wife, Susie Wolff, the F1 Academy director, on the basis of media speculation centered on the allegation of information of a confidential nature being passed to an F1 team principal from a member of FOM personnel. Are we talking about FIA race control now, are we, Andrew? Or have you just brought this into your article without any context whatsoever, but you're dragging the Mercedes brand through the mud? Okay. You're not talking about Red Bull's influence over race control and the fact that race control makes decisions that seem to favour the Red Bull team, but we're saying that the FIA launched a compliance investigation into the Mercedes F1 team. Okay, who is paying your wages, Andrew Benson, you corrupt fuck? But its position was undermined when Mercedes and F1 put out strongly worded statements rejecting their accusations, followed by identically worded and coordinated statements from all Mercedes rival teams saying they had made no such complaint. So you like to tell us, Andrew, your analysis is, strongly worded statements, but they're all identically worded and coordinated. So what's going on there? Do you want to explain that to us, or do you want us all to make our own minds up and tell us what you think in the comment section? 2 days after announcing the investigation, the FIA put out a second statement saying the inquiry had been concluded. Are we talking about Nielsen's resignation, Andrew? Or is this dragging up an old story that's pretty much been put to bed, that was really a smokescreen because it's irrelevant, because you've not talked about Derek Warwick's conflict of interest in being a corrupt steward for the FIA with a clear conflict of interest, owning a Honda car dealership on the island of Jersey, and yet adjudicating that a Honda-powered car wrongly was awarded a victory at the 2021 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, the most controversial incident in the history of the sport. But you want to talk about Susie Wolff and an allegation that's not been proven. This is Andrew Benson, the BBC's chief. Nielsen was appointed in a restructure of the FIA's F1, so we're back to Nielsen now, F1 operations, which names Nicholas Tombazis as single-seat director. Tombazis, who had previously been the FIA's F1 technical director, was Nielsen's immediate boss. Nielsen joined the FIA after a long career in the sport, in which he established himself as one of its most respected functionaries. He has been sporting director for the Tyrrell, Benetton, Renault and Williams teams before joining commercial rights holder F1 in 2017. So it's a nice history lesson you're giving us here, Andrew. Following the sports takeover by US group Liberty Media, under the same job title, he was recruited by former managing director Ross Brawn and president Stefano Domenicali. Among many other things, Nielsen played a key role in helping organise a 2020 season in the midst of COVID-19. F1 was the first international sport to resume activities during the pandemic. Not a lot else, Andrew. Is that the end of your article? Is that all we've got to say on that? So you're telling us, okay, up at the top here, that he was appointed in January 23 with a mandate to improve the FIA's race control operations after a series of controversies in recent years, which are what? What are those controversies, Andrew? What are those controversies? And insiders say that the FIA are not willing to make the changes he felt were required to make its race control operations fit for purpose. Why are race control not fit for purpose, Andrew? What's the key moments in time where we can identify that race control isn't fit for purpose, Andrew? You know, Andrew, you are the chief. You are the person that is responsible for informing people about what's going on in the sport. This guy that's been appointed to fix the problem, you're not telling us what the problem is and what causes the problem, what the big events are, what the big controversial issues are. But you tell us that George Russell said he's a good addition. You've told us that Susie Wolff has been accused of a conflict of interest, but then the FIA have said, oh no, we've closed that investigation. What have you told us about the issues surrounding FIA race control, Andrew? You've given us a history lesson. You've gone back to 2017. You've talked about 2020, COVID resumption. You're missing a big chunk there. You're whitewashing history, are you, Andrew? Because I remember on the 12th of the 12th, 2021, was the biggest corrupt sporting event that the world has ever seen, and you've not spoken about it, Andrew. Why is that, Andrew? Why are you whitewashing history where a black man was robbed of becoming a record-breaking 8-time world champion through corruption in the FIA, corruption in the entire sport, corruption in that entire sport, fixed a sporting event to gift one competitor the championship that you've never revealed, Andrew Benson, you corrupt bastard. You corrupt bastard. You're in a role presenting for the BBC, informing people, educating people about what is going on in this so-called sport of Formula One, and you whitewash it. You are presenting on behalf of corruption. You are not exposing the corruption. This article is yet again further fluff from a corrupt bastard. And this is going to be reported once again to the BBC, and once again the BBC will validate you, because that's all they do. I'm going to show you what the BBC has sent back to me after my latest complaint to the BBC. I'm going to do another video explaining the corruption of the BBC and this bastard Andrew Benson. Absolutely disgusting article. Nothing is revealed. Constantly covering up Abu Dhabi, constantly presenting for this corruption this is a facade, an absolute sham of a so-called sport. And yet we have the BBC playing their part in covering it up. You are a truly disgusting, absolute turd of a human being, Andrew Benson.